All right, we are live today. This says episode 14 with the Limitless podcast. It's not encompassing all episodes for the Limitless podcast because we do have a number of hunt series that have already published. And this is not my first podcast. Was a co-founder and co-star of the Sprocket and Chubbs podcast for a year. I've been hosted on a couple of other podcast shows. I've never been live. So this is the first live feed that I have ever had an opportunity to be on. It is the first live feed for Limitless Podcast. Probably not going to be the last. There's been a learning curve with this, so hopefully this goes off without a hitch. But we are going to start this live feed off with a shout out to our sponsors. So Hunting Day Coffee, big one. Love their coffee. They are out of Virginia. They're a Virginia roaster. 10% discount on Hunting Day Coffee at their website. Any order, that's Be Limitless 10. Phelps Game Calls. It's getting close to that time of year. So a couple of products here. If you're an elk hunter, I love their diaphragms. These are two of my favorite and most used. I am Team Phelps with the hot pink, and then the gray I have found to be the easiest and most versatile diaphragm in their lineup. I love these two. If you're not an elk hunter, but you're a deer hunter, the Beta Pro is hands down my favorite deer call on the market. And when I say deer call, I primarily use this as a buck grunt. This produces a really, really good mature tone, and I've used this for 2 years in a row. I've called in some really nice quality whitetail with this deer call. You can adjust the read on it and use it for a doe bleat if you like, but I use this primarily as just a buck grunt. And then last but not least that we're going to, well, let me rephrase that. Not last but not least, but our second sponsor that I'm going to showcase today is Wilderness Athlete. Yes, I'm wearing the shirt. I've earned the shirt. This is their Hydrate and Recover. I'm drinking it right now. This is kind of a makeshift homemade hero mix. They do sell their hero mix on the website. It is a mix between their Hydrate and Recover and their Focus and Energy powders. I love them. They are a 20% discount on their website. Any order, that's Be Limitless 20 for Wilderness Athlete. We also have, back to Phelps Game Calls. I got ahead of myself. Be Limitless 20 at Phelps for 20% off. That's a one-time order. It's not one item, but it's one order. So if you're going to go to Phelps and use your Limitless listener code there, make sure you're going there with your credit card ready and maximize that 20% off with them. On Point Adventure Foods, PA sourced freeze-dried food company. Their backcountry food is amazing. Their strawberry shortcake is ridiculous. They have freeze-dried pickles, which is awesome. They are a 10% discount. Be Limitless 10 is your listener code. Vortex Optics, they don't deal directly with the customer. So your discount for Vortex Optics is through eurooptics.com. That is a 25% discount on any Vortex product at eurooptics.com. That listener code is VTX LMT LS 25. And last but not least, my now retired Navy buddy and good friend and fellow outdoorsman, owner of the Love Sauce Hot Sauce. It is he loves this one, a boutique hot sauce. It's small batch boutique hot sauce. He's based out of Maryland. That is a 10% off discount for any order $12 or more. That's Be Limitless 10. So I remind everybody pretty much every episode that these discount codes do not provide me or the Limitless podcast any kickbacks whatsoever. These discount codes are purely on your behalf. That's why they're supporting me, so that we can support you. So please utilize those codes. So with that said, I have this bearded man in a Hoyt hat sitting on camera in front of me, and I think he's pretty excited to go live today as well. And he's wearing this Hoyt hat, which I'm a huge fan of. This is Ashton Groves. Ashton is based out of Chesapeake, Virginia, which, if you're not familiar with that Hampton Roads area in the state of Virginia, it's down near the coastline and the bay, the Chesapeake Bay, where you have Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Chesapeake, Newport News, that whole Hampton Roads region. And Ashton works with amputees, folks that need orthotic care and or equipment, and limb difference disabilities. So Ashton, welcome to the Limitless Podcast. And why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me. So I'm Ashton Groves. I am 31 years old, live in Chesapeake, Virginia. Married. I'll be married 4 years this September. Have a 10-month-old daughter named Georgia Grace and an 11-year-old yellow lab that lives with us as well. What I do for a career, as Aaron said, I work with amputees, so I'm a prosthetist orthotist. I work for REACHOPS, Reach Orthotics and Prosthetic Services. We are in the Hampton Roads area. We have 6 different locations, and I work out of 2 of them. So the Newport News location, 3 days a week, and the Chesapeake location, 2 days a week. My passion is Reach Orthotics and Prosthetic Services. Oh, that was a weird echo. That's all right. My passion is helping, people stay active and mobile. And then outside of that, my hobbies, as Aaron alluded to, the Hoyt hat, hunting, fishing, being outdoors, and anything of the like. So,
Ashton, I'm working on pushing our live feed link out to some folks in my circle and on social media, so that
Sure.
everybody knows where that proper link is. So, what brought you into the world of amputees and orthotics? What was it in your life growing up, or as you hit your post high school, that led you in the direction of working with guys like me?
Sure. So I think several different answers to that question. So after undergrad, so I got my undergraduate degree from JMU in exercise science kinesiology, and was studying to go to PA school, so physician's assistant school. I did terrible in organic chemistry and realized that maybe I gotta start figuring some other things out. And so I say interest and opportunity is what kind of led me to the field. So a family friend of ours, who's actually an avid hunter as well, his cousin is part owner of Reach. And so we got connected, and he is also a big time hunter as well. So it began as, just an opportunity to come learn. And then that turned into a part-time job, a full-time job, then went to school and got certified. So interest and opportunity certainly is what, kind of led me into the field. And then what I guess kept me in the field is a couple different things as well. So, I think as humans, we all go through different hardships, challenging times and struggles. And, losing a limb certainly is something challenging for someone to go through. And to be able to support people and help them through that rehab process to get back to living, somewhat of a normal life, whatever that looks like for the individual, just to be able to serve people and show up to work with a purpose every day is something that definitely sparked my interests. And then also too, the challenge of it. So I like to be challenged as well. No 2 amputees are the same. So figuring out how to provide this patient with something that they would be successful with, in, So I like the challenging aspect of it as well. And then also, I like learning from people. So, I like every time I sit down with somebody, I'm, trying to help them to the best of my ability, but also figuring out what I can learn from them as well. And so, learning from these people, you never know who you're talking to or what they've been through, and um, learning through, I'm 31. I would say the majority of my, amputees are in their 50s to 70s would be my guess. And so, they have a lot of valuable insight to provide. And so, yeah, kind of all those things combined is what led me to the field.
It's interesting that you brought up the fact that amputees are not the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's not cookie cutter. And that was one of the challenges that I experienced while active duty on the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
I received some great care and support during my Navy career as an amputee, and I served for 9 years on a metal leg. But when you're not within that medical field and that profession, dealing with amputees every day, um, I call them two-legged people, but if you're, that's because I'm missing a leg. It could be a two-armed person, however you want to phrase that. But, from my perspective, the two-legged person, they don't understand that. And if they have two amputees that are in the same military community, they try to cookie cutter or mold those person into, or put them into one mold, right? It's like, well, that guy can do that. Why can't you? Or that guy doesn't go to the processes as often, or that guy's leg doesn't work that way. Why can't yours work that way? It's
Yeah.
like, it's like, well, because I'm 170 pounds and he's 240 pounds, or his residual limb is 9 inches long and my residual limb was one surgery away from losing my knee.
Mm-hmm.
His residual limb is, the circumference of it is 5 inches around. It's the size of a coffee can. Mine is, mine's not. Mine's really, it's more narrow. There's so many idiosyncrasies about an individual's amputation. That's not even including their mental outlook, or were they an active person prior to their amputation, or what's their tolerance to pain. There's what's their skin health. You can
Mm-hmm.
be a very healthy person, but you have severe skin issues. Maybe you had skin issues prior to your amputation, and that skin issue causes, it's problematic, wearing prosthetic equipment, or supplies or materials. There's so many different things. The normal person doesn't understand that. And oddly enough, I've interacted and met multiple amputees that don't understand that either.
Mm-hmm.
Their outlook is, how do you do that? How are you able to overcome this? What are you doing to accomplish that? And although I've built that foundation about how all of our amputations are so different, one of the biggest contributing factors to the success of an amputee is this thing right up here. And the next thing is this thing right here. So your mind and your heart, your spirit, your drive is probably the biggest contributor on whether or not you're able to do what some amputees are able to do, and what a lot of amputees are not able to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mindset is huge, Um, and then also, you know, as an amputee as well, I think it's easy to compare yourself to other amputees. I get a new amputee who, sees someone walking out in the hall or in the lobby of the office, and they're like, "Hey, I want to be able to do what that guy does." It's like, well, that guy's 30 years old, and so it's easy to compare yourself to others as well, and say, I should be able to do exactly what that patient is doing or that person is doing now. But again, everyone's journey is completely different, and so setting realistic goals as well, to help amputees have something to strive for. But absolutely, mindset is huge, and have some other thoughts as well, if we want to go down that rabbit hole as far as what is important for, amputees to be successful and those kinds of things as well. But yeah, it absolutely starts in the mind.
When I first arrived at Walter Reed to start receiving treatment for my amputation, and it was, well, I was 2.5 months from losing my leg. I initially went to Norfolk General. From Norfolk General, I went to Portsmouth Naval Hospital. And after all of my surgeries between those two locations, I had 9 surgeries in 27 days. I went into 6 weeks of home health, where they were monitoring infection. I had a I believe that was 2012. It's 12 years ago now. A PICC line. I think it's called the permanent, or the PICC line that they had it inside my arm.
Yep.
And I had these, it looked almost like a bocce ball. It was this ball that was filled with antibiotic fluid, and it was pressurized. And I would connect that ball into that PICC line, and then it would slowly force that antibiotics through my body over a period of time. And it took hours for that ball to compress and push all that antibiotics out. And I would have to do 2 rounds of that every day. So we did that for 6 weeks. And then it was, continuous monitoring at the hospital to make sure that they didn't have any infection in my leg. And we're going to have to go back in and cut it open, which would have led to me losing my knee. When that was finished, I transferred up to Walter Reed. During my time at Portsmouth, prior to transferring up to Walter Reed, I did not interact with any other amputees. Even when I went in for my therapy appointments at Portsmouth, I did not interact with any other amputees. So I didn't see that at first. I didn't understand that. And when I showed up at Walter Reed and walked into the Warrior Training Center there, that was a big eye opener for me. They had in the PT room, they had, I'm not going to call it a closet, but it was this enclosed room. It was a rectangular room that was full of prosthetics, upper and lower limb prosthetics. And that's where they kept limbs of folks that they were restricting movement or activity on in a very controlled environment. And it was either folks that they were watching because they were failing, or it was folks that were pushing the envelope because they truly wanted to overcome and get better from their injuries. And what I mean by that is why were their prosthetics in that room? Because they had injured themselves in some way, shape, or form, and their desire to move forward and get better on that injury. And if they continued to use that prosthetic, it was going to further that injury. So maybe it was an open wound, or they had broke stitches, or they were getting bone spurs, or there's a litany of issues that we can develop in using our prosthetics. And they refused to take a break. So they would literally take that limb from them so they couldn't use it. So there was this room of all these prosthetics that was across that spectrum. And man, talk about hitting you in the feels, looking through that room and just seeing the abundance of those prosthetics and not knowing what story is tied to each one. And then seeing those fellow amputees every day. And you could see the guys that were being defeated, and you could see the guys that were overcoming it. And there really wasn't any middle ground, none at all. It was a distinct spectrum. It was like a dividing line, or a line of embarkation. Is that my mind's gone a little blank, but you either on one side or the other. You either were falling, defeated, or you were rising and overcoming it. There was no middle ground whatsoever. It was eye-opening to me. Truly was.
Sure. Yeah. And I think that's, a dance that I play sometimes as well is knowing when you have to push an amputee. There are patients that you get that for lack of a better word, needed to light a fire underneath them to get them going. And then there are those, Walter Reed is a little bit of a special population. I think they have more amputees that you'd have to hold back. But certainly, is knowing, on my side, when do I have to fire an amputee up to get them going to start the rehab process. And then, there are some, where I'm also like, all right, we need to slow down a little bit because I know they're go-getters. And, when you're 8 weeks out of surgery and you first get your prosthetic and you're ready to roll, it's hard for me to say, hey, let's take this slow and play the long game, right? I think as humans, again, we want to be there now, and not realizing that, hey, this is, a journey that we have to go on together. And if we go too hard too soon, it could negatively impact us on the back end. But then also, you mentioned mindset being important for an amputee. Also, when you walked into Walter Reed for the first time and were around other amputees who, you're seeing them successfully doing this, I think one of the second big pieces to being successful as an amputee early on is community. So seeing other people who are going through this, having that peer-to-peer support and encouragement to just know that, they can go through this. So I think that's certainly another big piece as well.
That's something that I steered away from, and it's had an impact on me post-retirement.
Yeah.
My desire was to return to active duty, and I was special operations. And my mindset was, I don't want to socialize or connect with other amputees or amputee or disability organizations. I wanted to immerse myself in being a two-legged person. That's what I focused on. And my thought process was, if I separate myself from the disability world and I just focus on living the way that I did with the people that I did, the work that I did, and trying to better myself that way, that was the right way to overcome my injury and be successful. And it worked for me while I was on active duty. I retired and I had a little more time on my hands. And as I started a 501c3 nonprofit, I realized that I had literally cut my leg out from underneath myself because I had no network in the amputee community. Zero. I mean, I have a solid relationship with my very first prosthetist, Steve Stevens. He was out of Virginia Beach area for a while. He's now up in the Pacific Northwest in Arizona. And then also with the crew that I work with at Bethesda, I have a really good relationship with them. But outside of that, I had zero connections. And as I kicked off my nonprofit and I was trying to interact and work with amputees and promote my nonprofit through that world, nobody knows me. I have no network, and it's been a slow progress. And how it's impacting me is not receiving care or accomplishing my goals outside of my goal in helping others. And so that would be my one big piece of encouragement to any amputee that's watching this live or listens to this recording once we publish it, that whether you're new to being an amputee or you're a veteran amputee, veteran meaning you've been an amputee for a while, not necessarily being a military veteran, but you're a veteran as in missing a limb, that if you don't have a network, if you're not connected with other amputees and amputee organizations for support, I strongly recommend that you start reaching out and building one, because it's important. It's important.
Absolutely.
So what do you use to motivate amputees? That tools that you have within that toolbox that you have as a professional, and what direction do you send them?
So for motivation, I guess what I start with is always just a baseline, right? So what types of activities were you doing prior to your amputation, setting realistic goals, and then helping, no pun intended, but helping them walk through that to achieve those goals. So, I think if you have realistic goals and you start getting wins along the way, the motivation, kind of just builds from there. As far as what specific tools do I use, I don't know that I have a specific tool. Certainly goals is big. And then also we, at Reach or myself are big on, co-treating with individuals as well. So a big part to what we do is physical therapy. And so anytime we can partner with a physical therapist and show up for an appointment or, communicate via text message or email about, hey, this is what I saw at physical therapy. What can you do to help me out with that? And so yeah, setting realistic goals and then just walking alongside them, throughout the rehab process is what I do for that. So
How about functional fitness?
yeah. So to be honest with you, um, the the majority of amputees that we see, the majority of amputations in general are, vascular or diabetic in nature. Um, it's a little more rare that these individuals want to do functional fitness. A lot of them are just trying to get back to some sort of normalcy. There are some resources out there, certainly for, those individuals who want to get back into functional fitness. There's a really cool organization out there called the Mission Gate Foundation. And they have a YouTube channel.
Say that again. Say that again for myself and the listeners, because I've never heard of that.
Sure. So the Mission Gate, MISSION, and Gate, like walking gait, so GAIT Foundation. And they're based out of Virginia as well. They do all kinds of stuff, but one of the things that they do is they have, a YouTube channel full of bukus of resources for amputees, for anything from learning how to, weight shift in the early stages of the prosthetic rehab to some of that more functional exercise stuff as well. So there's some YouTube, videos there. There's several organizations beyond that. There's the Challenge Athlete Foundation. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
They support my nonprofit.
Okay, very cool. They host different events, running clinics, those kinds of things. They also partner with OSER, which is, a big prosthetic company, and they do different grants for amputees who are maybe more interested in getting into like running prosthetics and those kinds of things. Move United is another one. It's more of like an organized adaptive sports foundation. So amputees who want to, maybe get back into some sort of competitive sports like wheelchair basketball or, a variety of different sports, they kind of do those things. And then the National Ability Center as well. They kind of help amputees with different events in the outdoors and those kinds of things. So one other thing I found too, through the Challenge Athlete Foundation, I believe it is, on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, they actually host a live stream workout. I don't remember the exact time, but it's available, and all you have to do is search, the Challenge Athlete Foundation, and you can get that resource to run you through, a workout program a couple of days a week. So
Love it. So something that when I talk about functional fitness, Ashton, and there's one organization that you did not list, and it's a Virginia Beach founded organization, and that's Kaizen.
Yeah, very familiar.
Kaizen is phenomenal. I'd love to host them on the show at some point. And
Sure.
REACHOPS does a lot of work and promotion with them as well, and they're just super quality people there.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people, when they think of functional fitness, they're thinking of of CrossFit, and they're thinking of big plates, whether they're black or multicolored, and Olympic bars and squat racks and aerodyne bikes and concept rowers and all of that, right? Throwing sandbags and medicine balls around and kettlebells and just 100% getting after it.
Mm-hmm.
Functional fitness is so much more than that, right? It's almost, I like using the analogy of peeling it, having an onion and peeling off all those layers. It's a Shrek thing. I just love it. And you can apply it to so many different things. And sometimes functional fitness is nothing more than the functional exercises that makes it easier for you to get out of your chair or
Mm-hmm.
off your couch on a daily basis. Tying your shoes, getting in and out of a shower.
Mm-hmm.
There's folks that struggle with that on a daily basis. And with the right, simple, functional fitness, meaning how do I apply some basic fitness improvements to my life so that I can function at a greater level, not going down to the local CrossFit gym or the local YMCA, or if you have a similar Kaizen center to your locale that you can go work out with some professionals. When I say professionals, I'm talking about certified fitness leaders that know how to work with folks trying to overcome disabilities. That's what I mean by that. And if you're in the Hampton Roads area, I encourage you to reach out to Ashton or REACHOPS and find out what's available for you at Kaizen Athletics, because it's incredible. But just taking some of those very basic functional fitness methodologies that you can do with your own body weight or the assistance of a partner or a chair or a countertop or a wall, a door jamb, and start working through some of those normal everyday movements that will increase your quality of life because you're moving forward. You're not static. And now getting in and out of bed, getting your shoes on and off, going to the bathroom independently, or in and out of your shower, or in and out of the tub, or in and out of your car, or taking your garbage out, getting your own mail, doing your own shopping. There's so many things that we take for granted that when you are not able to do those, what are you able to do so that you can obtain that again? And that really goes back to the mindset that we talked about of not being defeated. Like, well, here I am. This is just the life that I get to live now. Having the mindset of how do I overcome this injury and either get back to the level of life that I was living or bettering the state that I'm in. And you've touched on that a couple of times. And how do we motivate that person to get there? So when I asked you about functional fitness, I mean, yeah, I have bump weights and kettlebells and a Bosa ball and a rower, and I'm building my own home gym. I've got a sled that I drag around. I run ultra marathons. I do all those things, right? Not everybody can do that. Not everybody wants to do that. Okay, well, we can still take those things and apply it to an amputee or somebody that's suffering from some type of a limb disability, and figure out what those goals are and how can we introduce some level of functional fitness to get you to a higher quality of life. Some people we're talking about almost like a level of occupational therapy. Right?
Yep. Yeah, I guess in the field we call those more ADLs than functional fitness, so activities of daily living.
Okay.
But certainly, and yeah, just to touch on Kaizen, I kind of kept the organizations more to like a national level, just because I'm assuming, listeners would, not all be located in Hampton Roads, but certainly Emily at Kaizen, is doing incredible things, with people with disabilities as far as helping them become more active. And I would certainly encourage anyone who wants to get more into functional fitness. If you're in the area, certainly, connect with me or her through social media or whatever, but also, speak to your prosthetist or orthotist and just ask, if there's anything in your area, wherever you live, like that. But then if not, there are, the other organizations that I mentioned as well. And as far as ADLs go, certainly fitness is not just for people who are highly active. It's at whatever level that you are at to be able to get better and do the things that you need to do on a day-to-day basis. So
It's I'll so I run the gamut of how I live my life. And I've been asked, I got out of the car one day. I drive my car just like I always have.
mhm,
And I had a car pull up next to me. My wife and I were at a restaurant, and a car pulled into a parking spot right across from us. And as I got out of the driver's side, and they watched this family watched me walk out from the car and met Tara at the rear of the car. And one of the females from the car got out and she said, "How do you do that?" And I didn't know what she's referring to. So how do I do what? She goes, "How do you drive that car as an amputee?" And I said, "Well, I just drive it." And so one of the individuals in the car was an amputee, and he was a right leg amputee.
mhm,
And he's like, "But do you have assistance with that vehicle? Has it been modified?" I said, "No, I just drive it." "Well, how
mhm,
do you do that with your prosthetic?" And it's hard for me to frame it sometimes because in my mind I'm thinking, how do you not do it? I mean, that's when I decided I was going to drive my car. My mom and dad and I waited until the evening, and the parking lot was empty at Walter. We found a large empty parking lot at Walter Reed so that I wouldn't run into anything. And I just drove my car,
mhm,
and I just never stopped. So we chatted about that a little bit, talking about spending enough time on your prosthetic where it's like I have feeling. When I when I when I'm hunting and I'm stalking through the timber, I can feel sticks and stuff underneath my prosthetic.
mhm,
I've been wearing a prosthetic for 14 years, right? I mean, it's now a part of my body. You can't expect that, 4 days, 4 weeks, 4 months into being an amputee. That connection isn't going to be there. It took a long time to learn that foot rotation and feeling the different angles of your foot to recognize that you have
mhm,
something underneath there. The little things of this is something that even in 14 years into it that a two-legged person doesn't understand.
mhm,
Every time I go someplace to stay overnight that's different, the shower is a new experience.
mhm,
Every new shower that I go to, because I do not use any adaptive equipment when I shower. I haven't hit that stage in my life yet to where my balance and physical capability requires me to use any type of adaptive equipment in the shower. Every time I go to a new shower, I have to figure out how I'm going to do it. And I don't approach it with the mindset of I can't.
mhm,
Mindset is I'm going to take a shower in there and I'm going to do it without adaptive equipment. I'm not soaking my leg and I'm not soaking my liner and my suspension sleeve. I'm going to do this.
yeah,
There is a way. And that's what I try to introduce to amputees. In my nonprofit, we have one amputee a year that, we provide archery and outdoor equipment to, and we take them hunting. And that's what I really try to promote through my grant is, archery is a way to get off the couch, out of your chair, your house, be
mhm,
active and find something positive to focus your mind on and start overcoming those injuries and those hurdles. And
mhm,
it's again, I mean, I don't want to stay down this one particular rabbit hole, but it's the little things that two-legged people take for granted that become massive mountains for some folks when they're missing a limb. How do
mhm,
I drive my car? How do I get in and out of the bathtub or the shower? How do I push a grocery cart? Um, will I ever run again? And if I am going to run, what does that look like? And you stated it earlier, small obtainable goals to get to that big finish line. And, that's running could be running a 5K. What do we need to do to get you to the finish line of a 5K? And that it could be just walking a 5K. It might be doing a run walk for a 5K, or I'm going to run a 5K. And then from there, okay, what's my next? Let's do a 10K, and then let's do a half marathon. Do you have the desire to run a marathon as an amputee? If so, what are the stepping stones to get you there? How do we do that? That's the exciting part for me. And watching people realize that they don't have to live in defeat. They can actually not only live to the standards and or quality of life that they were living before they lost their limb. They can actually be better, because I have found that I'm a much better person as an amputee than I ever was as a two-legged person. That's the exciting part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think you know, whatever somebody wants to achieve, there's a screen right here on the left that my wife has set up that just started flashing, kind of threw me off for a second. But you know, whatever we want to achieve, whether that is as a two-legged person or as an amputee, there, you know, where there's a will, there's a way, or there's a workaround to get to that. And so, you know, as you said, you're going to figure out how to drive or shower or whatever. There are, you know, endless ways to get to the goal. And so just figuring out how to do that and get there. And then also, you know, from my end as the prosthetist, if, you know, as an amputee listening to this, if there's any of those questions that you have as far as how can I get back to doing this, or can I get back to doing that, or can we maybe modify the prosthetic to be able to do this? There's infinite things we can do with a prosthetic, whether it's suspension type or foot combinations or whatever, to be able to usually accomplish what you want it to. Now, obviously, it'll never be as good as the God, you know, or as good as the leg God gave you. But certainly technology is, you know, come a long way. And so, yeah, I mean, I would certainly encourage you to talk to your prosthetist and figure out how you can get there. And then as far as driving goes, that's what I always recommend to my amputees as well. If they want to, you know, figure out how to drive, go find a big parking lot and, you know, figure out whether you now drive with your left foot or, you know, or, and then some people do end up getting the adaptive things, hand controls or whatever, and that's okay too. But there's a way, you know, a way to do it. Just have to don't get defeated, continuously, you know, strive. And so, yeah.
Well, I think I'm going to change direction of our time together. There's a couple of reasons why I was looking forward to having you on the show. One is REACHOPS connected with me a little less than a year ago in relation to the grant.
Mhm.
And we've been doing you know, we share content back and forth on each other's platforms, and I wanted to host REACHOPS on the podcast just to help promote REACHOPS because it's a great organization. You guys do some really good work for folks.
Thank you.
And when I reached out for the opportunity to actually make it happen, you were strongly recommended because of your background. That background being committed to amputees and or folks with some type of a limb disability, and your passion for functional fitness, and because you really, really like the outdoors. So let's talk about you in the outdoors a little bit.
Yeah, sweet.
Tell me where that started and what your passions are.
Yeah. So that started, you know, from a very young age. So I think not like everyone who gets into hunting, but it's often, you know, passed down from generation to generation. So my grandfather, my dad grew up hunting with my grandfather, and then, you know, I grew up hunting with my dad. And so I can remember my dad telling stories, you know, of me being 4 years old with a BB gun out there with him. And so it's just evolved from there. It's something that I've always done. It's something that my dad and I have always done together. And I tell people all the time, you know, some people frown upon hunting because you are taking a life and of an animal. And, that's not something I ever take lightly. I respect the animals greatly, and I feel that emotion when I do squeeze the trigger or let an arrow fly and take a life. But hunting is, you know, way more than that. It's about, spending time with friends and family. And then also just in the outdoors is a place where, I spend time with God. And so it's something that I've always done. And the older I get, the more passionate, honestly, I become about it. But it wouldn't be the same if I did it by myself by any means. So
So what is your preferred outdoor activity? Are you more focused on hunting? Are you more focused on fishing?
yeah.
Or is it a little bit of both?
A little bit of both. I would say I'm more passionate about hunting, but I certainly do some fishing as well. I have a John boat that I own with a buddy, and we do some, bass fishing around here. We do um, more laughing and trash talking than we do catching actual fish. But certainly my passion is both, but more so towards hunting, specifically whitetail deer. Do a fair amount of turkey hunting as well. My wife actually does not care so much for deer hunting because it's cold time of the year and you sit in the stand for long hours, but she likes the vocal kind of piece of um, you know spring turkey hunting here in the southeast where you're calling and interacting with them. So certainly do that with her. And then I would say my favorite part about whitetail hunting is hunting the national forest out in the western part of the state. So we go to Bath County, Virginia on a mostly a week-long trip, but we do a few trips throughout the year as well. And the deer population is not the highest out there, but just the challenge of hiking the mountains and trying to get on a good mature whitetail, and also the physical aspect of it as well. I mean, to get to where deer are sometimes out there, we're hiking 3-4 miles. And yeah, my newest adventure, you mentioned the Hoyt hat. So last year I bought a Hoyt VTM. And so getting that dialed in and getting into the saddle hunting thing this year as well, kind of getting that set up all dialed in as well. So um, love it all. I love being outdoors and spending time in nature and certainly hunting. So
So you have a VTM. I recently acquired. I shoot a Hoyt as well. I
yep.
have an X33,
Okay.
and I obtained the VTM 34 Battle Worn Edition.
Yep.
I haven't really decided where it's going to fit into my archery world because I spend majority of my time with that Alpha X.
Mhm.
It's a great bow. I too am an avid saddle hunter. I absolutely love it. And man, we don't have enough time left today to start talking about that because I will
Yeah.
wear you out on that topic.
Sure.
I hunt the Western Mountains of Virginia as well, and
Okay.
I do it out of my saddle. And you and I will probably need to spend some time chatting together. If
Yeah.
you Have you ever been on a backcountry hunt?
Like out west.
So not just have you ever packed in and slept and hunted?
So I've done some tent camping like at the top of a logging road and hiked in, but I've not done and like set up a drop camp and all. We kind of come back to camp every night in the national forest. So
Okay. So I can work with you on identifying areas using topography as your benefit
mhm.
to pack in and basically spike camp in the national forest
Mhm.
and reduce your amount of walking every day if you want to get away from the road and cars and other people in that fashion. It is, man, I love it that you said, oh, you mean a Western hunt? So backcountry does not have to be out west. You can 100% backcountry on the Eastern Seaboard. It's amazing. And it's something that I've really started doing a lot of because I grew up out west. And when I moved out here and really decided that I was going to settle here, I was missing that part of my outdoor world because I love being in the backcountry. So I've just figured out how to apply it to the Appalachian Mountains, and the opportunities are endless.
Yeah, no, I'd love to definitely pick your brain on that and learn, as much as I could because that certainly interests me. So,
Does your wife like to camp?
um, not so much, I guess.
Okay, because I backcountry hunt for turkeys.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
you want to have a ton of fun, and if you want to replicate a September elk hunt, you can do it in the Appalachians with
Yeah.
spring turkey. You can pack in, set a spike camp, and hunt turkeys in the mountains,
Yeah.
and potentially not even see another hunter and just have the time of your life. And you're going to engage with birds and have a ton of fun.
Awesome. I would say she would be down for that if we got a ton of thermocells and kept the mosquitoes away. Otherwise, if there's mosquitoes around, she's not too interested.
So it's there. They are certain, especially if you when you get into the later portion of the season. But I will tell you this, that with one thermocell between two guys and spraying yourself with off and or utilizing I'm a big fan of Sawyer products.
Yep.
I'm not saying that we did not have mosquitoes flying around us the whole time. After several days being packed in this last May, I came out with zero mosquito bites, even though I had mosquitoes flying around me the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's as long as she can be comfortable with the fact that they're there in her presence and they might even be landing on her on occasion. Again, I walked out of there without any mosquito bites.
Nice.
And when you're talking, that's even sitting on the ground doing blind calling setups for hours on end,
Mm-hmm.
turkeys sitting as still as you possibly can,
Mm-hmm.
still walked out without any mosquito bites. So it's doable. You just have to know how to do it.
Sweet.
So excellent. What else? So what's your really quick? I want to have a little fun just talking about your equipment setup. And then we'll close it out with having you do letting everybody know how to get some information from you. But so you're shooting a Hoyt VTM.
Yep.
What about what rest do you use?
So I just have the Whisker Biscuit.
Okay.
When I got the Hoyt so the Alpha X is the newest model, correct? Their newest flagship. Um, so I got this in December when it kind of went on sale before the new ones came in, and I was maxed out as far as my budget goes. And I told the guy I want to get this bow, but I need all the accessories, to kind of be as cheap as possible. And so yeah, I just have a four pin sight and then a Whisker Biscuit as well.
Where did you buy your bow at?
Um, it's in Elizabeth City, and I'm going to blank on the name right now.
I didn't
Um,
know there was an archery shop in Elizabeth City.
yeah, there is an archery shop. It's been there for a couple years. My dad got his bow service there and said it's a great group of guys and kind of referred me there, but I'm going to blank on the name of it right now. So,
Okay. If you've never, have you been to Oceans East there down by Little Creek?
for fishing stuff, yes.
So they have an outdoor section, and it's managed by a retired Navy chief by the name of Jeff.
Okay.
They are a Hoyt dealer. If you need any assistance with your bow, go in and see Jeff and tell him that Aaron at Limitless Outdoors sent you, and Jeff will take care of you.
Sweet.
I don't know how much closer Oceans East is to you compared to Elizabeth City, but Jeff is very knowledgeable when it comes to bows, and again, he is a Hoyt dealer, so he can work and replace parts and whatnot. What do you use for arrows?
Um, Again, whatever the cheapest ones they could give me at that moment. As far as broadheads go, with the arrows. I'm looking at Sever broadheads. They're a type of mechanical broadheads, SEVR. Um,
Are you in the market for a new broadhead?
yes.
Okay. I will send you some to try.
Okay, sweet.
It's mechanical.
Do you have an arrow that you recommend?
I'm a Victory fan.
Okay.
I've used a lot of different arrows. I've been shooting. I've been involved in archery since I was probably 6 years old, and I've been traditional and compound throughout my life. I've used a lot of different brands. I've used wooden arrows. I've used aluminum arrows. I've used hybrid arrows,
Okay.
and my favorite so far, it's what I'm currently using, is the Victory VAP SS. It's their hybrid. When I say hybrid, meaning that it is a carbon center. It's a stainless steel core with a carbon weave wrap.
Mhm.
Those things are virtually indestructible. They're so tough, and Victory's just an awesome company. So that's what I use. The broadheads that I will send you. What grain broadheads do you shoot? Do you know?
100
100,
grain. 100
100 grain.
grain.
I'm going to send you 100 grain VIP combat veterans. I've been shooting VIP since 2018. Since 2018.
Mhm.
Uh, I've helped tested one of their new broadheads 2 years ago. I helped part of the testing process with the Commander broadhead, but the Combat Vet's my favorite, and I will. I have, in fact, I've got a pack sitting right over here on the floor. I'll pop it in the mail to you
Sweet.
and give them a shot. They're lethal. They're
Sweet.
just amazing.
Well, I certainly appreciate that. Yeah, this is, like I said, a new venture for me. So, yeah, any recommendations or whatever you have, I'd be, open to them. So,
Are you a index caliper release kind of guy? Or are you a handheld like thumb button release?
so I have the around the wrist with just a trigger.
Okay. All
So,
right. Do you use binoculars, rangefinder?
Vortex, I have a set of Vortex optic binoculars. And I do have a rangefinder, kind of just a hand-me-down as well. I believe it's not a Leupold. Halo is the name of it.
Okay. Do you use a bino harness, or do you just keep them in a pack or your pocket?
Bino harness, same from Vortex.
Okay. Great. They for being basically like a stock harness that comes with your binoculars, it's they have a decent bino harness.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Vortex fan.
Yeah. And then
Right on.
yeah, the saddle setup as well. So I know I see you share Latitude outdoor stuff. So I got their carbon climbing sticks. I When I first started, I didn't come across Latitude, and for Christmas, I got a cruiser saddle, which I'm still kind of adjusting and dialing in, but really like the Latitude products so far. And so we'll see how the first year goes, and I'm sure I'll continue to kind of dial everything in as I go. So
Let's we'll get together and we'll talk about that. Have you heard of the Mobile Hunters Expo?
I I have just through like stuff that I follow, um, but I'm not familiar, I guess, when it is or where it is.
So they're having one this year. It's in Manheim, Pennsylvania, which is right next to Lancaster. It's 15 minutes out of Lancaster. Are you familiar
Okay.
with Lancaster?
Hmm.
It is the 9th, 10th, and 11th of August, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I,
Okay.
I would recommend that if you have the ability to attend, uh,
Hmm.
even if you may try to make it like a weekend getaway with your wife, I
Yeah.
would recommend that you go. They will have it is a expo that is focused on mobile hunting, and when I say mobile hunting, majority of your major saddle companies will be there. A lot of your lock-on stand companies will be there, and all of the accessories involved with mobile hunting will.
Hmm.
Um, and it gives you an opportunity to actually get your hands on everything. They have they have testing poles there, so you can get on the climbing poles there and get into different saddles, get on different platforms, different sticks, different suspension systems, different methodologies. and try stuff out before you spend money on it online and buy it to find out, this doesn't really work for me.
Yeah. Cool.
That's an opportunity there for you if you're interested.
Yep.
Yeah. And I will be there speaking, I think on Saturday. They haven't told me if I'm speaking Friday evening, Saturday, or Sunday, but I'll be there as a keynote speaker on backcountry tree saddle hunting.
Sweet. Yeah, I'll take a look at the calendar and certainly interested. So
Right on. Well, do you have anything else? I could, man, not only do I really enjoy podcasting, but I love talking about the outdoors and functional fitness. And if you start talking about archery and saddle hunting, I mean, you've set the hook.
yeah, no, I feel like we could certainly spend a lot more time, me picking your brain on, saddle hunting. You mentioned methods and two stick versus one stick or whatever. But no, I don't, again, I think we could spend the rest of the day talking about those kinds of things. But as far as the podcast goes, I don't have, anything that's pressing on my mind at this point. So,
Okay. So why don't please tell everybody where they can, if they wanted to reach out to you specifically, and or if you just want to keep it at the Reach Ops level, please let everybody know information on Reach Ops, and just share that info really quick.
sure. Reach Ops. So is the company that I work for. Their social media handle on Instagram is just Reach Ops. So REACHOPS. That stands for Reach Orthotic and Prosthetic Services. My personal Instagram, it's a great question. A_Groves04. Certainly any questions that amputees out there have as far as anything goes, shoot either one of us a message and we would be happy to help. So.
All right. And I'll close this out with, if you are an amputee and you do have questions, if you're interested in trying to improve your quality of life through functional fitness or the outdoors and or archery, please reach out to me or Ashton at Reach Ops. If you're in Ashton is going to forward some information to me that I will end up putting on the description of this YouTube live feed. On some national level programs or connections to seek assistance and opportunity through. There's some resources there that I am not aware of. For local resources, if you're in the Hampton Roads area or within the driving distance of Hampton Roads area, Reach Ops is there. Please look them up and or get connected with Kaizen Athletics. They have a wonderful outreach there and opportunity to introduce functional fitness to improve the quality of life of those that are amputees or suffering from some type of a disability. If you want to connect with me, limitlessoutdoors.com is my website. I am on Instagram and Facebook as Limitless Outdoors, YouTube, Limitless Outdoors. If you haven't done so already, if you're watching this live or you end up watching this through YouTube, please hit that subscribe button wherever it is underneath my moving finger. Please subscribe. You can send me direct messages on any of those platforms. I'm also I have my nonprofit. It's the A3G Initiative. That's the annual amputee archery grant initiative. That is a3ginitiative.org. And we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We provide an archery and outdoor package to one amputee every year. We send that amputee to the Gas Bowstrings factory in Kentucky. They get to build their bow out with the professionals at Gas Bowstring. They get custom Gas Bowstrings put on their bow. They get one-on-one coaching with the podium level archers that are at the Gas facility. And then we take that individual on a lifetime all-inclusive whitetail hunt in Texas. When I say lifetime all-inclusive, everything is paid for. That is at the a3ginitiative.org. We welcome your support in any way, shape, or form that comes in, whether it's just spreading the word on who we are, supporting us with some type of a grant, like equipment donation and or monetary support, we would love it. And that is everything about Limitless Outdoors, the Limitless Podcast. Please subscribe to the Limitless Podcast channel. So with that said, Ashton, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I really, really look forward to chatting with you about some other topics, not solely archery or tree saddle hunting. We're going to chat a little bit.
Yeah, man. Look forward to staying in touch, and I've enjoyed it as well. So,
and with that, I need to do a quick admin action. Last but not least, Ashton, be limitless, man.
Thanks, man.